here we are again.
Well, hello. How are you?
I'm good, man. How you been?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Doing better. Doing
All
better.
right. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good to hear,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, dude.
Well, this is the Crucible,
What do we
and
got?
Polly's got his Prime. You got your Prime. That's what's up. Sponsor him.
That's
Somebody.
right. Waiting on them. Waiting on
Somebody
them.
sponsor the man.
I've been
Germania,
checking DMs. Nothing.
Pamp, anybody. We'll
Call
get you
me.
a sponsor. We'll get you a sponsor, man.
Call me. I got a sponsor for AA. Well, I don't go to
Ah,
AA, but I got one of them sponsors. I'm looking for something else. We're looking for something else.
you're looking for that
Email.
13th step. Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I kicked that 13 steps ass, I guess. All right,
Good
man.
stuff, man.
So they're here probably because of a thumbnail that I used. And let's just ask this question to start
Hmm.
because I come from a very small area and I didn't have the pleasure of having a crush on any teacher because I hope none of them are listening. They weren't that great looking.
Ah,
But let's ask the question to our chat or anybody riding around listening to us. Did you have one of those nice looking teachers you just couldn't stop thinking about back in school?
yeah, I can't say I did, man.
I
I
didn't.
can't say I did.
I didn't. I mean, we
I,
had
I went
some.
to Catholic school, so
I
it
went for a year or two, and
wasn't
then
much
right
to look
right
at.
into public. No, no, a lot of black and white in this
Yeah, yeah. Rulers on knuckles.
rulers. Yeah,
Yeah,
they got
yeah.
it easy these days. They got it easy. They don't know what a ruler on the ass feels like.
That's right, man. Good stuff. So today's show, man, what are we talking about?
We're talking about the next generation and how to get them involved with precious metals or even collecting, but most generally just precious metals, learning to trust the metals, put your money into metals. How can we go about doing that? I know I got kids, you got kids. I'm sure people listening have kids. I would guess right around the same age of us. I think our analytics show anywhere from 22 to 60 years old. So there's a pretty big gap there of people listening, but I'm assuming they got into it because they heard about it from one of their buddies or maybe even a family member, but it's something that we need to pass along, right?
That's right. And I guess this was prompted by an article that I was reading, and it's
Okay.
similarly related, but not really. So this was about the diamond industry and
Okay.
how in one generation you might see the diamond industry get toppled. Reason being is, people from, let's say, the boomer era up until maybe millennials, they're very much into authentic natural diamonds. But
Mhm.
as it turns out, this newest generation, they couldn't care less.
Yeah.
So what they're looking for in diamonds is lab created because it's much cheaper. It's got the same chemical structure. There's really
Yep.
no different. It's
I've heard a
not
lot.
a Yeah, it's not a fake diamond, but why would they pay triple for something that was probably unethically mined in Africa when they could, buy it, lab grown and pay, a third of the price or whatever. So that kind of
That would be
sparked
a great conversation to have. You follow that guy on Instagram, Trex? What is it?
oh,
Trex
Tracks
NYC?
NYC. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
gonna write
he's
that
cool,
down.
man. Yeah, we got
Yeah.
to reach out to him, but yeah, it is an interesting topic because in one generation you could see that whole De Beers industry topple, maybe, right? Maybe.
Good.
But then it brings us to the conversation about precious metals. You do see hobbies that come and go from one generation to the next. A great example of that would be stamp collecting. So I know
Yeah, I
that.
read that. I read that on the email you sent me. And fun
Mhm,
fact about that is it wasn't very many years ago. I'm talking maybe 3. I actually bought my mother-in-law, who is a huge Elvis fan.
mhm.
I bought her a unopened, it was like a whole collection of Elvis stamps
That's
and gave
cool.
that to her as a Christmas present one year. She loved it, but that was somebody's collection. Very
Yeah,
nice, nicely done or whatever, but it was when I read that from what you send me, I says, "Yeah, that makes sense." Like, who's still stamp collecting?
right. And I mean, you and I were in the collector space. We go to
Yes.
coin shows, we go to coin shops, and you might see, stamps tucked away somewhere in the corner,
Yep.
but it's
Yep.
not really, they don't have these massive stamp conventions that draw in, thousands and thousands of people to come and buy these rare pieces from way back in the day. It doesn't really exist anymore. So yes, uh, I guess you could say collectible genres can
Mhm.
come and go. And so in this case, we're talking about something a little bit different. It is a commodity that has an
Yes.
intrinsic value. So it's not really the same thing, but in some aspects it is because, like you've said it before, and I've said it too. What is a coin worth? It's worth whatever
Yeah,
somebody's willing to pay for it.
that's
Right.
it.
So if
That's it.
that demand dissipates, it boils back down to spot price. So the collectability factor could, that premium could dissipate.
Good. Good. And we say spot price very, very selectively, I guess, because we just had Mark from the coin shop in South Carolina. And he
Hmm.
was telling us a story about 100-ounce bars going for sitting there all day under spot. So
Right.
what's to say that someone would pay spot for something with a couple tigers on it?
Yeah.
That's where it gets kind of goofy. Not goofy, but not sketchy either. But it's just tough to say what somebody is willing to pay you for that at that point in time.
Right. So we want to look back at, like, let's say 50 years ago, which I think is just before you're in my time frame. So we're talking the
Yeah.
70s. I think you're a child of the 80s, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So me too. So we're talking 50 years ago. You're talking the 70s, and it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't sound like that was 50 years ago, but really, it was. So what are the differences from then till now, as far as like the youth from then and the youth from now, and how they're kind of like educated about and their mindset on precious metals, what the differences are, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for me to speak for 50 years ago, It's
Exactly. We weren't
somebody
around,
listening sure can, and they can leave in the comments or the, live chat right now of what they see as the difference, but it's really tough for me to speak on something like that because, only been in it for 8 years or so.
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
that you can talk about. It starts with, collectible stuff that I got into or stacking, just standard rounds. But then
Hmm.
I see how myself evolved many times. It's like a circle.
Right.
You can't
Yep.
I can't not stop myself from buying that one piece every so often when I said, I should have just bought a couple buffaloes. Whoops.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. Well, so you look at like the way that I guess that people could have learned about precious metals back in the day, right?
Okay.
What
Yes.
what
Yes.
what what formats were they? What ways could
Oh
they
yeah.
learn?
Yeah. Well, they don't have what we have, so it could have very well been a newspaper. It could have
Yep.
been, they used to deliver, even I remember around here, it's just a little flyer in restaurants that somebody typed up the night before about what was going on in the area, that day.
Hmm.
It
Right.
could have simply been a flyer. It would have had
Yeah.
to been, junk mail that we call today, put in your mailbox
Right. Or
because you weren't getting emails.
maybe those 11 p.m. infomercials. I
Sure.
think those were
Yeah.
probably starting up right around the 70s.
Yeah.
And it could even be like encyclopedias. You want to learn about gold, you would just encyclopedia
Where have those
gold.
gone? Right.
They're gone,
They've
man.
gone to the internet.
Yeah, I think Britannica had their last publishing within the last
Everybody had
decade.
a set, right?
Oh yeah. Oh
Had
yeah.
to. If you wanted to learn anything.
Yeah. And nowadays you want to find something out, you use Google, right?
Yep,
You got
yep,
social media, you got these influencers, they'll teach you about whatever they want you to learn about, they will teach you about it. So, yeah, I mean,
that's
even
right.
in our sphere, there are social media influencers, some of which
Yes,
we don't need to drop names, but some of them have big followings and they could either
they
lead
do.
you in one direction or the next. But
And they do. And even just putting out the content that I do, it's still in I know it's not the purpose of it, but I know it still influences people, whether it's coin
mhm,
reviews or not. I'm just giving an honest review, and that could influence somebody to go and possibly purchase that.
that's right.
And that's, it's what it is.
So you look at also, I guess, the exposure, what people from back then, 70s, 80s, whatever, what they were exposed to on a daily basis, and kind of you think about how financial curriculum wasn't really in play, right? They didn't really teach you back then what you have to do to be successful. And now they talk about, balancing your portfolio, that precious metals should be a component. I believe the recommendation is like 10% in hard commodities like that. So
Sounds like a
gold,
good
silver,
number.
whatever. Yeah. So they teach that, right? And youth now has kind of like that understanding of the value of financial success. They see all the Lambos, they see the
Yeah.
mansions, and they want that. And they might think, oh, let me start a YouTube channel and get rich that way. But
Yeah, it's
part
not
of them
easy.
starts to think about what else can I do to get myself there. So they're hungry to learn about these different asset classes.
Sure. Sure.
You remember what happened back in, well, I think it was in the 70s, right? Who took us off the gold standard?
Yes. Yes.
Right. So let me ask you
That's
something. If Go ahead, go ahead.
it's yeah. No, go ahead.
So if you're living in an era where you're consuming all of your information from the news, right? Not from social media, right? Just from the news. And they're telling you we're coming off the gold standard. What message does that send about gold?
What message does that send about gold? Well, it's going to be very, very valuable,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I would think what they're trying to tell you about gold. Of course, if you could read between the lines, that says, of course, get your hands on gold.
I-
But when you're looking at what they're trying to tell you, like they're trying to tell you the US dollar is more valuable than gold. So ditch your
I-
gold. We're getting off the gold standard. We're going to stick with the dollar, and the dollar's going to the moon.
exactly. And saying that in the 70s without having the information available at hand that everybody has now, it's tough for someone. Even then, you want to trust your government. That's why they're there. They're there for us, and they are supposed to be doing the right thing for us. So
Right.
them saying that listen, we need this gold because what? They wanted to fight inflation. It
Hmm.
didn't work. I mean, look at, so that's the 70s. That's 50 years ago. Look where we're at now.
Right. So that's hindsight. So
Yeah,
that brings us to today's generation where they're recognizing the instability in the dollar and how hyperinflation, or at least inflation, has gone rampant.
right.
And with that in mind, you recognize now there is value in gold. There was always value in gold,
There's always value in gold. There's
right?
always, or there has always been value in gold. Sure. Sure.
Hmm. I think the last aspect to that would be that back in that day, I feel like commodities were less available, right? If you took
Very much
your
so.
regular 20-year-old from back then and they wanted to buy an ounce of gold, where would they go to get one?
Yeah, right. Like who would they know to go and get one? Not
I don't
saying
even
that
know.
there wasn't coin dealers then or bullion dealers then after the fact, but
Hmm.
where do you go?
Yeah. So if you're talking like
Pre that,
19,
where did you go? You went to your bank, didn't you?
well, let's say 1982,
Good
they didn't
year.
even make eagles yet, right? They
No,
didn't make they didn't make
they
gold
didn't.
eagles.
Yeah,
So
there was
so
no bullion. There was gold from
33,
33.
333. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it wasn't really readily available. But today, I mean, it's easy to find. You could
everybody and their
Google.
brother. It's opening up everywhere.
Yep. There's
We
coin
buy
shops.
gold, we
There's,
buy gold, we buy
yep,
gold.
pawn shops, whatever. So, and I think the other aspect to that is like the youth from this generation, they are looking for some alternative investment forms. That's why they're looking at things like crypto, and they're watching these, roller coaster rides of
Yeah.
crypto, and
Oh,
it
sure.
can be pretty scary. But they might see gold as, oh, that's not going to make you a lot of money, but it's also not going to lose you a ton of money either. So there's benefits to both sides of it.
I think they can learn that it holds its value and increases over time. But what it does do is it holds its value long term rather than sitting there. And you see it all the time on Instagram, but somebody will post a spot price picture and you'll see
Mm,
one, you'll see 30 of them, right?
yeah.
And it's you can't sit there and watch gold spot price go up or down. Now you should pay attention to it, especially if you've been collecting for so many years under the assumption that I've been putting this stuff away for the right time to get out and either take it with you on your retirement life or just get out and buy back in because you've had so much of it. I mean, how long has it been since we could buy silver under 20 bucks?
That's
2017,
years. Yeah.
2018, you
Hmm.
know? It's been a very long time. So if you were buying before that and getting it at that very low price, any time would have been a decent time to sell and reinvest again into
Right.
something else if you wanted to.
Yep. You're up. Yep.
Yeah,
That's good.
right? So, like, what are some things that you would do around your just normal household to interact with the kids with saying, this is silver, this is gold, this is, you know, quote unquote real money.
Right. Yeah. I have, I mean, I kind of have this tradition or whatever on my own where like for birthdays or
Mhm.
Christmas, I'll give them an ounce or two of this and that. Sometimes I give them like a 10th ounce or a quarter ounce of gold here and there, maybe even a little bit of platinum to spice it up for them. But just I give them stuff so that they each have their own, boxes
Sure.
that we keep in their safe. They're in our
Yep.
safe, their
Same here.
own dedicated box that has stuff for them, so they every now and then, they can pull it out and look at it and see what they've got and kind of
Yeah.
price out what it's worth. So they know that they have some store of value in our safe outside of whatever's in their bank accounts, right? So
Sure.
it's just something to kind of show them what's available. And of course,
Yeah.
I don't believe that gold and silver are the be all end all method of creating wealth. I don't think that's true, because if you look at it, this is just me maybe going on a soapbox.
No,
If,
no.
if you if
Go
you look
ahead.
at all of the other investment methods that have created millionaires upon millionaires, gold and silver is just a fraction of that. So
Yep.
there are other methods to do it. However, like you said, this is a very stable and reliable way of ensuring that you're storing your value. So there's nothing wrong with teaching your children that there is a value to understanding what gold and silver really are.
Sure.
That's
Sure.
what we do.
Now, have I know you've done coin roll hunting in the past. Did
Mhm.
you've done it with the kids, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it was interesting. I think I mentioned to you that one time that we were at that bank, or that I went to this bank, and the lady had 6 rolls that she was desperate to get rid of. And it wasn't even a bank that I banked at.
Sure.
And so she sold them to me for $60, walked out the store, or walked out the bank, and kind of peeked into one of them. And I saw a walking Liberty right up on top. And I
Yeah.
said, done. I'm going to close these up, take them home. And I had 3 of the kids at the house at the time, so I gave each of them 2 rolls, and they went through it. And I think it totaled up to about $1,100 worth of silver. And I explained to them, guys, look, $60 that I spent, and it turns out to be $1,100 worth of
Yeah.
silver. This is the
Yeah.
value of silver. You can walk into any pawn shop, even, and you might not get 1,100, but you walk into a pawn shop, you could sell it to them. They will buy it off of you. It's worth
They will, that's
way
right.
more than 60. So yeah, now they check their
Hell of a lot
change.
more. Exactly. And that's kind of what I was leading into is, everybody, maybe not everybody, because the way the world is now, it's gone to a lot of debit cards and credit cards and all this stuff.
Mhm.
And myself, we still have the change tub. You empty your pockets after a day or
Right.
two and it just continues going in there. But what I've done is I've snuck in, junk silver so that I knew for sure that it was in there and then go through it. And it's nice watching them be able to pick it out, say, well, that one's not right, meaning silver. And then they look at it and they say, yep. And then we go over not so much years of like rareness, but just pre 64 and pre that this is why this is what it is. So this dime isn't 10 cents. It is if you
Right.
take it to the store and try and buy some candy, but it's actually worth about $2, $1.80. Well, whatever it is at now, I don't know what the price is as far as spot price right this second. But there's more value there than just a 10-cent dime,
Of
you know?
course. Yeah.
So that's
So I
fun.
I think that that's a great example. Seeding, you're seeding that coin jar. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I would do that, but I have a distinct fear that my wife will end up spending it because she does dip into the change jar and keeps change in her purse just in
Yeah, of
case.
course.
So
Of course you need it.
it'll get spent.
You gotta have it some days. Throw it in the tolls. Whoops.
That's right. There goes $5, one quarter.
Imagine that. Imagine that going, you're how much money is lost to tolls or car washes or anything like that. And eventually, yes, it does get back to the banks, but people just don't know and you're just pumping quarters and you're driving through just tossing quarters.
Coinstars. Coinstars.
I
I
check.
found so
Every time
much
I see when I
silver.
check. Every time I
Yeah,
see when I check, I found
me
maybe 2
too.
dimes. Maybe 2
Oh,
dimes.
no. I've found like $5 or $6 face value in
No, not
Coinstars
me.
before.
Somebody must
But,
be checking them before I do.
one time, and this is how maybe this is just me telling you how ridiculous I am. One time I was walking out of a Walmart and I see it was like the claw vending machine thingy,
Yeah.
the claw. So the coin return had a coin stuck in it. And I was like, what the heck is that? So I'm like reaching in my pocket and I like find a paper clip and I use a paper clip to fish this stupid coin out. It was a 40% half
Who's got a
dollar.
random paperclip in their pocket?
Some kid shoved a 40% half dollar in
Yeah.
there and I fished it out. And I was like, hell yeah. Got me some silver.
There you
But I mean,
go.
he probably stole it from his grandpa or something.
Could
Trying to
have.
get some candy.
Could have. Very easily.
But I mean, it's everywhere. It still exists in the wild. So yeah, I do teach my kids about it. I think I almost feel like the kid, the youth, the person has to have a attention to want to learn about it. Because even I look at my
Yes.
three kids, and two of my three, the three younger ones, right? The older one, he understands what silver is, but like the three younger ones, two out of three of them they do understand it and they like silver and they're always very appreciative. But my daughter, she's like, it's cool. It looks cool, but she doesn't really care about it. And I think maybe one day she'll understand better, but at least right now she doesn't have that tension to really educate herself about it. And that's fine.
Exactly, and it's never wise to push something even on a kid because the more you do that, the more they're just not gonna wanna be involved in it. The more you
That's right.
pressure, the more you push, they
It
just
turns them
say,
off to it.
this isn't for me. Why don't you understand that?" You know?
Right. Hmm. Good stuff, man. So what else do you do for your family, for your kids?
Well, and that's the same thing. So right at Christmas we play bingo. I bought this whole bingo set, and I make sure I've got 5, 6 ounces of silver, and so it's lottery tickets and silver, right? So it's just at random. Whoever wins, I'll say pick a hand or whatever, and then I'll have something in each hand, and then say, okay, you get to pick this, or you get to pick this. A lot of times the lottery tickets go first because everybody wants a chance to win big. Who wants a just a random silver round? But there's times where give me the silver is the answer when they win that game. So we
That's
do
awesome.
that. We do that. I haven't coin rolled hunt in such a long time. It's tricky around here just to get anything. The banks the banks are okay. It's just they get goofy when you want to bring the stuff back in. And the certain bank that we bank with, like the one has a dump the coins back in. It doesn't charge you nothing. You just give them the slip and they deposit the money back in your account.
Right.
But the place where that is it's a drive to the other branch of that bank for me to go there and do that. Other than that, I have to, have the kids roll it all back up, and that's no fun for anybody.
No, I hear you.
But games like that, and I've given wedding gifts, and we just like you and I've talked before, just with our spouses is hard enough to finally get them to catch on after showing them your progress after years of work that this is, what we saved. And that's kind of one thing that I like doing is breaking it all out every once in a while and putting it there on the table and say, look at what we have here. kids. Look
Right.
at this. This is something you could be doing. I understand, 16, 17-year olds. I was there. I wasn't worried about it way back then. But to be able to say, look, okay, you want to go spend $60 on your hair. Okay. Give me 40 of it, earn that next 40 back, and let's either go buy you something to put this away with, or we'll just keep the cash in the safe. One or the other. I know you want your hair done right this second. You got $60. You just want to blow it. Okay. That's
Mm,
fine. Earn that next $40. Let's put this one away. Earn the next $40, and let's figure out something to do with this $40. Stuff like that. It pisses them
that's
off,
good.
but it's a learning it's a
they'll
learning
they'll
thing, you know?
they'll thank you one day, man. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, one day.
So I'm gonna share screen real quick. I know we
Yeah,
didn't talk about this, but I want to show you this real quick. I actually All right, let me know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see that. All right, so these are a series of videos that I had made, um, just to like teach kids, educate kids on what silver is versus clad, and you scan through, and there's like different kinds of things, different
yeah.
rounds and
Ooh,
coins, and
proofy.
yep, yep. And then there was even what was this one? Just something else about
You did
silver.
a video on the 2020 W's.
I did,
Yeah.
yeah. I did. So yeah, I mean, I made a couple of videos, and I think that these actually, I don't know that they got a ton of hits or anything like that, but I actually have one other video I want to show you,
Yeah, go
and
ahead.
this is how I got my wife into. Yeah, here we go. This is how I got my wife into precious metals. This right here, I
Oh,
made her
yeah, you
this
made that. That's right.
m- massive nugget
Yeah,
necklace piece, and man, that's a hot piece right there, and it's so freaking heavy. So like she wears it on nice occasions and stuff, but I think that's how, like, once I gave her that, she's like, all right, I like gold.
that's
Like
cool.
when I told her what it's worth, I'm like,
That's cool.
that's almost an ounce right there. That's a big honking piece. That's worth a lot of money
Yeah,
around your
no
neck right
doubt.
there.
Be
So
careful with that.
yeah, she doesn't wear it too often in public, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. Good stuff, eh?
Yeah, guys, and if you have any thoughts in the comments how you guys get your kids involved, or things that people could be doing to get youth involved in general, again, remember that a coin's only worth what people are willing to pay for it, and the more people that are involved in this hobby, in this industry, the better. Like one last point, real quick: when you go to a coin show and you see that grumpy old man who's just sitting there and not wanting to talk to you, that
Yep,
guy is literally, what he's doing is he's making you not want to be involved in this business, because the
exactly.
more people like him that exist, the less people that will want to get involved, meaning less people buying your stuff. You got to be
Yep.
interactive. You got to invite people in. You got to educate them. Take the time to, even if it's like an 8-year-old and he's asking you, why this is worth that much and this is not. You take a few seconds, give them the time of day, because one day that's going to be a grown man, and that person either will or won't still be interested in precious metals. So help them out a little bit.
Mine calls it, speaking of 8-year-olds, mine calls it big money. He calls it the big money. That's what he
It's
likes
that
to
big
call it. But
money.
one more thing, while we still got a couple minutes here, we didn't touch on it either, is how actually easy it is to get somebody involved in precious metals today rather than where we were talking about 50 years ago. Is it's all right here in the palm of our hand. It's very easy for the younger generation to actually, if they wanted to take the time, it's all right there for them. They don't have to go to a library. They don't have to open up a newspaper. They don't have to find that thing in the restaurant sitting there in front of them. If
Mhm.
they really want to, they can learn about it just in the palm of their hands, which is a there's pros and cons to it, of course, just like there's pros and cons to most anything. You have to be careful, and if they are younger and everybody has their tablets, if there's families out there that allow their kids to have a tablet, you just got to show them the right direction, you know,
That's right.
point them in the right direction that you would go, and just sit there and talk about it. Have some family time with it rather than everybody's nose just buried into something else. And if you go to a restaurant these days, I don't know if
Mm.
you notice it, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
terrible. It's terrible to see what everybody does sitting around at a restaurant.
Yep. I mean, it's just a way to keep their kids entertained and just
Yep.
give them a tablet. But
Yep. It's that's a whole nother
it's
episode.
the world we live in. But
It's a
guys, the easy way to get yourself involved right now is to try to win this sucker right
bam.
here, right? So there's 3 ways to win real
If you
quick.
made it this far, we appreciate it. But here's the 3 ways. And if you made it this far and you've watched this before, I know we're beating a dead horse, but we want to make sure that you're entered. Husky, take it away.
3 ways to win. CrucibleLive.com. You're going to sign up for the mailing list. Second way, Instagram at the Crucible Podcast, one word. And the third way is go to our dedicated YouTube channel at the Crucible Podcast. Those 3 ways, subscribe or follow, and you'll have 3 chances to win this 5-ounce big fat nugget. Look at this thing. This thing is gorgeous, guys. And hey, eventually we're going to give it away. We just need to get the numbers right, and then maybe we'll just sit on it forever. It is going to get given away. It is going to get given away. We just need the right numbers, and then we're going to go ahead and pass that off. So you want to share it with a friend, get them involved, and we'll get that thing to you.
That's right. That's right. Husky, it's been fun. Folks listening, watching, either live or not, we appreciate it. And we will see y'all on the next one, right?
Cheers.
Cheers.